Sonny and Cely, the loves of my life, happiest of birthday celebrations to both of you. I can think of no better way than to have family and friends around, and I get just such a kick out of watching you grow up.
Katie and I have both decided that Sonny looks better than he looks when he was 35. He reached his prime looks-wise around 50, 60, 70, 80 wasn't bad. 90, he's still looking great.
It was much better when he was 65, 75, 85, 90. 90's very good. And Cely, when Cely came along, someday she'll come along. The girl he loves is Cely. Yes, and he looks better. He's much better since he met Cely. As wonderful as he was, he's even better now.
Oh my God, I can't lift 90 pounds.
My first job out of college was working on Wonderama with Sonny. I did it for 3.5 years.
He has an extraordinary background. He's a remarkable man, and so I'm glad to be here.
And Sonny was the producer of Taking My Turn, a show that I did, and we've had some experiences together. He was set up in the middle of the auditorium, and the ramp that everything was on fell down during the filming. Anyway, we all survived. We all got the film done. And we felt like we've been through wars together. He's a survivor, and I love him. He's wonderful.
And he certainly doesn't look his age.
I was in Oklahoma and Mark was in Iowa, so we missed the childhood experience with Sonny. I was in prime time when I met Sonny in 1980.
I just got out of the shower. It helps. I bathed for the occasion.
There you go.
For Sonny Fox, I took a bath.
Oh my God.
Because I knew him when I was a kid, I feel all grown up. I feel as though somehow I've arrived when you can spend time with people you idolized as a child, and yet you can still feel like a child. So you feel the best of both worlds. You feel like the best possible grown-up, and you still feel like a kid. Longevity is very inspiring, and I wrote in his card, I said I was at his 70th and I sang, I was at his 80th and I sang, I'm at his 90th, I'm going to sing. I have the 100th in ink in my calendar. So we all have to take our vitamins.
Thought I got off easy for a minute there. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sean Stewart. I'm Sonny's oldest grandchild. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my grandfather and kind of set the stage here. But first, just want to say to Cely, happy birthday. We're so blessed to have you in our lives. From the Fox side, we love you, and we're really glad that you're in Grandpa's life and have been for a long time, and in our lives as well. So. Just from the Fox family, all of our love. Okay, so my grandfather. he was born in New York City. He's had a wonderful career in television, a very interesting life. Raised children in Connecticut, moved out to Los Angeles, where most of the family is today. But I want to speak a little bit to who he is to me as his grandson, and what a special place he has in my life. Grandpa's been our family patriarch for many years. It's a role that comes naturally to him, leading the family. From the time that we were young kids, it was always a joy to be with Grandpa, because he cared what you had to say. He listened, he challenged, he expected you to have well-formed opinions. I think when you hear from a lot of the folks that watched Wonderama back in the day, and how much that show meant to them and why it was so special to them, it was because my grandfather listened to the kids, wanted to have a conversation with them, was really actually interested in what they had to say, didn't want to talk at them, didn't want to give them a lesson or a lecture or anything like that. And that's the same thing that made him such a special grandfather. And so, because of that, Grandpa, you've been such a huge influence in all of our lives. And from my perspective, as the oldest grandchild, I think that there are a number of traits that we owe directly to our grandfather. And I think that some of those, most of you in this room, if you are coming from the Fox side of this joining of two worlds, none of these are a surprise to you, but my grandfather's just absolute warmth as a person. That's something that we have all gotten from him, to just how to care about other people, how to interact with them in a way that is real, that is genuinely interested in their lives, that has something interesting to say back. And along with that is he has a not inconsiderable amount of personal charm and charisma. We're all hoping that we got some of that as well. And along with that goes a keen wit and a keen intellect. And those are, I think, both worth highlighting for my grandfather. For those of you who know him, his intellect is first rate, and from a young age we were expected to have opinions, to defend them, to be up on current events, to know what was going on in the world, and to be challenged by that. It wasn't like a book report. It was always a conversation with Grandpa. It was always challenged your viewpoint, but in a way that made you feel like your point of view was worth having, that it was respected, that it was, and I think that was really important to us. And also his keen wit, as we all know, he's a funny guy. And so just all of these things made him an absolute joy in our lives for many years. Grandpa, I love you. I hope I've inherited some of these traits from you, some of the DNA. Also the gene that affects hair. I really hope I got that gene. Fingers crossed. So Grandpa, you've been an enormous influence in my life and all of your grandkids' lives, and all of your friends and family here. So without further ado, Sonny Fox.
Oh, this is overwhelming. I look out here and I see so many parts of my life in this room, and I've heard such wonderful things. At no particular order, I have to make, I don't know, just whatever comes to mind. Celestine, I understand, because we did come from separate worlds. She was the world of foreign service, USAID, lived in McLean, Virginia. I was out in a two-bedroom rented flat in LA, in the world of showbiz. And our lives crossed peculiarly because I became chairman of the board of a not-for-profit organization at the same time she came on the board. Otherwise, our lives paths never would have crossed. It was only later that I was told by her that she had given me a screen test before she decided to commit to me. She went down to the Paley Center and said, show me everything you have about Sonny Fox. And sat there and screened me for hours. I gave her somewhat of an advantage, because I had nothing on her. And she said later to me, I would never have fallen in love with you at that time. Well, she saw me as a performer only. And she didn't know about my dutiful charms, in other words. So that was understandable. But it is a miracle that our paths crossed. And it was almost as that wonderful word that Celestine knows, in addition to a lot of other Yiddish words I've taught her. Beschert. Those of you who understand Yiddish know it means it was intended, it was meant to be. And our relationship feels like that. We did come from separate worlds. Sonny came from a world of trips abroad, a year in Switzerland, in school and so on. And I was that smart-ass kid in Flanders. So that our lives not only joined, but just melded, as Cely said. It did so miraculously. We both had spent time in Asia. You look at the walls on our home, you can't tell where my stuff starts and her stuff stops. It just melded together quite miraculously. That is difficult. When two people come together at our age, we all carry baggage. And to see how that matched together, as Sonny indicated, was quite miraculous. What is even more miraculous is that my children love her children, and her children enjoy my children. Right? Anybody want to demur on that? No, they do. When the family gets together, it's not because it's obligation, it's because they really want to be together. So that sense of family that she has, sense of family that our family has, and the enthusiasm and the competitiveness all meld together. So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking over here, except to observe that in my life. Is Lester Tanner here? Did Lester make it? Huh? No. Too bad. There are people that go back so many years. Lester was in a prisoner of war camp with me, and he was supposed to be here. But another gentleman in the room, Jimmy Greenfield, who's here, was the best man at my wedding in Japan in 1953. Jimmy Brown. I didn't ask you to stand up, but it's good that you still can. Jimmy is actually older than I am. That's not hard. It's not easy to find that. Mark Nadler has rejoined us. Hi, Mark. Welcome back. So he had a wonderful career at the New York Times. He was editor of so many of the sections and still runs a not-for-profit group for them. There are people who go back. In this room is a woman who was my co-star on a show I did after Wonderama on 2.5 hours every afternoon on Channel 5. Penelope, where are you? Penelope Hall. There you are. Penelope is only the co-host for the first 6 months because she got knocked up on the show. I'm sorry, she got from her husband. So she got swollen day by day for the show, and it was a woman's show, so that worked okay. And she became pretty close to having the show the baby on camera. I said goodbye to her on a Friday. I walked in Monday and said, "Where's Penelope?" She said she had the baby over the weekend. That's how close she came to having the baby on the show. So Penelope is here. So many people who go back into my past. But anyway, I want to make this an open mic. So anybody who wants to come up and have anything to say, this is the time to do it. And we have some people who are going to do a performance shortly. So right now, talk time. Anybody want to come up? Who? Come on, Artie Forrest. Let me introduce Artie. He wends his way up slowly, Artie. Artie Forrest was the director of Wonderama on Channel 5 for almost the entire 8.5 years. And I have to tell you about Artie. He wasn't just my director, he was a partner on the show. So that show to work the way it did, and to me to have full freedom to just move around and do whatever my insanity led me to do. The director had to be aware and listen and get the cameras ready and anticipate practically what I was going to do. And Artie was always there for me, and he gave me that freedom to kind of improvise any way I wanted to do on the camera. So Artie is not only just a director, he was really a partner on Wonderama. So Artie,
It's such a shame you said such nice things about me because I have to embarrass you. There's so little I can talk about.
I know you can tell the story. I know. I'm sorry.
You don't know which one?
Watch out for the wings. Right?
Don't give the punchline away. Let me just talk real quick about how successful this show was because of Mr. Fox. Before he came on board, I was doing the show with a bunch of other personalities, and it was nowhere near as successful. It was tough getting an audience, tough getting kids down to the studio. And once he came on board, it was an incredible experience because, and this is the truth, I was there. When someone, when a woman became pregnant here in New York City, they would call our office and register the child's name in utero. Because it would take 6.5 to 7 years for them to get a ticket to the show. So by the time the child got that old, they would get a ticket. And so many people have come to me and said, I could never get tickets, I could never get tickets, and that's the reason why. In addition to the mayors and the governors and the police, you have no idea the pressure put on our office because of sight.
Except my mother.
Except your mother. She was, whenever she wanted, she got 100, 200 tickets. It was a terrible thing. But I wanted to say that before we started because it did make a difference. There's no question about it. I think that your grandson talked about the fact of, or one of these nice people got up and talked about how you never talk down to a child. That was the very first thing I recognized. Because every other personality, that kind of stuff. And you never did. You were right with that kid, and they responded beautifully. And I learned, as I started getting children and grandchildren, that that was the way to be. And it worked for me too, so I thank you for that. The other thing I have to say before we go on is that happy birthday to both of you. And my wife's birthday tomorrow, just like that. And if I didn't say that, I wouldn't be able to get
It's
home.
a very easy way for you to just get off by.
Isn't that something? I'm glad you came to my party. It was a wonderful. Okay, so the embarrassing part, there's only one, I mean, with many stories I can tell you about children and whatnot, but the biggest one I always remember this because it was so incredible at the time, was Premier of Russia, Khrushchev at that point, had a son-in-law, and he was traveling around with the greatest butterfly collection of the world. Now, we don't know much about butterflies, but when you say it's the greatest collection in the world, it was the greatest collection in the world, one of a kind. And Sonny got him to come down to the studio with his collection of butterflies, and they set them all up, and I came in and I said, it'll never work because all of the butterflies were behind glass, and the reflection of the studio would be phenomenal, he couldn't do it. So I said to him, do you think we can get the glass, get them out of there and just have, he said, yeah, we can do that, but they're very, very sensitive. You just gotta be so careful about these things, they're fragile, they fall apart, you gotta be, I said, we'll be very careful. So his people took them apart, we put them on little easels, and they were something to see, by the way. Even if you didn't know anything about butterflies, they were beautiful. So we started the show, we brought tape. Hugh Sonny says, here's a son-in-law, he came with this collection of gorgeous butterflies. Tell us about this one, can you? And I take a shot, and his finger is right pointing at the butterfly. And you hear the son-in-law say, Sonny, don't touch the butterflies. So, I'm sorry, of course, and he talked about this butterfly. And then he said, well, tell us about the next one. And I go to a shot, and there's a butterfly with a finger in it. And you hear son-in-law say, Sonny, don't touch the butterflies. By this time, there's laughter going on in the control room, you know. It just gets to be insane at this point because we know what's going to happen. And it's terrible. I mean, man travels 85,000 miles to come onto the show with his collection of the only world's best butterflies. He says, oh, I'm sorry, sir, I won't do it. Okay. And now, how about this one? And I go to a shot, his finger's there, and the wing falls off. And it's silence. And I stay on the shot because I can't go back. This man is, and you hear him say, "Sonny, I told you not to touch it." I swear to you. And from there on, it went downhill. And there was almost a war, but luckily we got our way out of that. Anyway, it always made it, the live feeling of that show was marvelous. It was years, 10, 15 years, I forget how many years we did it so long ago, but every Sunday, it was such a great experience. I thank you for that, and I wish you a happy birthday.
That's why the Cold War went on another 5 years. And Marcy, congratulations on your party, on your birthday.
Nice of you to do that.
We can keep it going another 20 minutes. Oh, look, they're lining up. Okay, so this is one of my nieces from my sister, Shirley.
Yes.
Shirley, I am getting old. And she has come all the way from Colorado to be with us today. So,
Hi, everybody. First of all, Cely, you come first today. Happy birthday. You are such a wonderful addition to our family and the Murch family, and I have always felt like you're my soulmate. And thank you so much for adding so much to my life and the lives of everybody else in the Fox family. We just can't thank you enough. We love you so much. Thank you. Now, Uncle Sonny. I'm the Wonderama demographic. I spent my elementary school and middle school years being very popular because I could get on Just for Fun and Wonderama anytime I wanted. And I always won a prize. It was amazing. I fell in love with the television business when I was about 10 or 11 because Sonny would let me come when they were doing Just for Fun. And now let's take a trip. I remember going to the New York City Ballet and meeting the principal dancers when you were doing a show there. I remember being at LaGuardia Airport and doing something there, sitting in the control room. Now when I looked around, everybody was men. It never actually occurred to me that I might be able to work in this business. But if you fast forward, I went to college, I went to graduate school, and I've always wanted to be in the television business because Sonny made it look like so much fun. And it was. And I got my first job. I was in graduate school at the University of Pennsylvania at the Annenberg School for Communication. And Sonny got me a summer job with Sesame Workshop. My first job was working on the creation of Sesame Street. And that was as magical as my uncle. Between that experience and my total life experience with Sonny, which has been make lemonade out of lemons. If you're down, you bounce back. Think outside of the box. There are no rules here. I have tried to do that. And given that I spent most of my career in the television business, which you're either in or out, up or down, I've had lots of practice in being resilient. And Sonny, I just want to thank you so much for your joie de vivre, for your love, for your ability to always be standing next to us and to love us as much as you do. We just love you so much. Thank you. Happy birthday to both of you.
That was, I didn't introduce her, Susan Green. Okay. This is a gentleman, Randy Buttonoff. I call him a gentleman. Don't push it, Randy. Who came into my life as a fan, just as a fan from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and he was a persistent fan, let me put it that way, and grew up watching the show and so on, who has grown now to really be a very important part of my life because He started a Wonderama website and all, and I finally, a couple of years ago, started a Facebook page, a website, the Sonny Fox TV website. And I thought there were a lot of kids wanted to still stay in touch. I thought, okay, let me do that. I didn't know what to do with it. I finally called Randy up. I said, you want to take this over and do this for me? So he is. So he runs my website, and he does a lovely job. If anybody wants to go up under sonnyfoxtv.com, and there are clips from the show, and there are memories of people who have been on the show and so on. So anyway, I have no idea what he's going to say, and but I trust you implicitly.
First of all, yes, I'm a Wonderama kid. I first sort of met Sonny Fox on television. I was maybe 6 years old. And I grew up watching Wonderama, or at least for the time that Sonny was on the show. Years went by, and as an adult, I wondered what happened to Sonny Fox. And I found a website about television called TV Party, and he had his email address on it. So I wrote him a memory. I said, "Dear Sonny, I learned how to make scrambled eggs on Wonderama." So within an hour, I got an email, and I wasn't expecting this at all. And he told me that it was his son who was on Wonderama and made the scrambled eggs. So Sonny's family helped me learn how to cook. I also just want to say happy birthday to both of you, and thank you for inviting me to this lovely affair. I'm very happy to be here. But I want to take a trip. Let's take a trip with Sonny. The year is April 1945. Sonny wrote a book of memoirs called But You Made the Front Page. Well, according to the Brooklyn Eagle in 1945, it says, "Freed Brooklyn GI's home, happy get 60-day leaves," whose picture is on the center of the front page of the Brooklyn Eagle, but Sergeant Erwin Fox. Now, I just want to point out that this is a hometown paper, and even if it's the Brooklyn Eagle, and you can tell because buried in the bottom corner, now remember his picture's in the center, it says, "Himmler kills Hitler." Allegedly. So I just thought as a family memory, you'd like to have a copy of that. And there's more. Assuming that Sonny wrote But You Made the Front Page, after seeing that I thought you should change the title to But You Always Made the Front Page, extra, Sergeant Sonny Fox comes home for 60 days, Himmler kills Hitler.
My life is coming back in little pieces. Who's there? Who wants to talk now?
Barbara Powell, friend of Cely.
Oh, Barbara, come over. This is a woman who's been a very important part of Cely's life recently in a very important project, so you can talk about that.
With apologies to Ogden Nash, this was written by three of us, Bim Bissell, Alet Janess, myself. We're all involved with Cely in the Fab India School, which is in rural Rajasthan in India, in the desert. It's had several ups and downs, and all the ups are due to Cely. A talented beauty named Cely. 4 boys emerged from her belly. Cancer she slew, Sonny she drew. She's a blonde Devi from Delhi. Devi, for those who don't know, is one of the 300,000 Hindu gods and has 10 arms. This Devi is winsome and wise. Her thoughtfulness opens our eyes. With a kind perspective and no invective. Cely's a celestial prize. So a toast, without rancor or tears. Bring on the champagne and the cheers to our red hot mama and the host of Wonderama. We wish you many more years.
This is my beloved daughter, Miss Meredith. 2 days ago, I was on the phone with her, knowing she wasn't going to be here, and she was all tied up, and she told me she's sorry she couldn't come. So I'm brought between two poles of reaction when I saw her. One was absolute sheer delight and wonderment that she was here with her younger daughter, one of my granddaughters. But I looked at her and said, "But you lied."
I did, but as my son pointed out, it was for the better good, the larger good. So yes, we lied and we came here because somebody had to represent from your family. A couple quick things is I love that some of the people from the Thavindier School are here today because Cely, this is a card from us to you, and in it includes a donation in your name to the Thavindier School. So. Okay, first of all, I have to say, I'm one of Sonny's kids. I did not get to go to Wonderama whenever I wanted, so I want to know about that. This is a sham, because we used to get to go on once a year for our birthdays. That was the rule, once a year. And you got to take one friend. So Susan, we have to talk, because if you get to go anytime, I'm going to figure that out. I am also, so Sonny had 4 kids, I'm the only girl. I was thinking the other day, Cely, you had 4 boys, so between the two of you, you had 8 kids, and I was the only girl in 4, and out of 8 of those people, so I feel very special. So, Dad had 4 kids. I was the only one that chose to go into the family business. I followed him into television as well. My other brothers couldn't have cared less about it, thought we were crazy when we'd sit there and talk about television. And over the 30 years or so that I've been doing television production, I have done lots of different kinds of shows. I've done talk shows of one of the many things I've done. And I realized, not that this is any big surprise, but that the first 5 years or so of any child's life is very, very important, that foundation. But when you're sitting in the control room of a talk show and you're constantly hearing these terrible stories about these poor people and their stories, and the host inevitably gets to that part where they say, "Tell me about your childhood." You know inevitably, because of whatever problem this person is sitting on the couch with at that time, almost inevitably you can trace something back to their childhood. You realize, in realizing, sitting there listening to these stories over and over again, I was thinking, man, if you start out your first 5 years and one of your parents is incarcerated or somebody's got drug abuse or whatever those horrible stories were in their childhood, you think, this poor person, is getting up to the batter's box with 2 strikes against them. The fact that they possibly could succeed is pretty amazing. And I started to realize, wow, I was so lucky to have the kind of childhood that I had. And you take that for granted, of course, but I realized for my parents raising us with that unconditional love and support, you realize you have such an advantage when you get out into the world if you've had that. And I sat there listening to a lot of people that didn't have that and realized the consequences to that. So I really wanted to say that thank you for that, Dad, for allowing me to have that kind of childhood. And Cely, the same thing to you. You look at your 4 boys, and I have to say, her 4 sons, if there were ever 4 men in the world that could just be complete arrogant bastards, these guys are them. They are, right? They are so incredibly successul, and they have overachieved amazingly in their own fields, each one of them so interesting. But they are the most humble, loving, down-to-earth people you ever want to meet, and that says a lot about how you raise them. They're just the nicest guys, and again, as Dad pointed out, our families blended wonderfully. We love them, they love us, and truly, to find another family that was more competitive than us, my brothers and I were so excited. It was like, God, you see where they played ping pong, and you had to go around the table, and you got hit it before it's your time, and you're out. So we spending time with them, they're great. So truly in conclusion, what I really want to say is thank you, Dad and my mom, for allowing me to be the person sitting in the control room at a talk show, in the control room and not sitting out on the couch and telling my horrible story. So thank you and I love you.
Being an only girl, I tried a lot to make sure that she felt, she was a girl and growing up with the guys, make sure she knew about her identity. But it didn't quite work out that way. For instance, we'd go out and play touch football, guys, and Cely, and they would say, okay, you go out there and for passing, and Mary, you take Dad out of the line. So I'd line up and hit, and they go, ha! And this little 8-year-old blonde tyke would hurl herself at my knees. I would fall down in a laughing, just falling down at this whole thing. When she was 9, I said, okay, sweetheart, what do you want for your birthday? She said, I want a mitt. I said, come on, how about a nice dress, black, I want a mitt. I said, yeah, there's a lovely Peter Pan, I said, I want a mitt. I said, okay, I'm going to get you a mitt. I'm painting it pink. So she survived growing up with 3 boys. She developed a punch that just absolutely terrified them. She would put this knuckle out, and she hit him in the right spot in the shoulder. And after a while, she would hit that. Oh, okay. So she's tough. Don't start up with her. All right, we have some very talented folks in this room who are performers, and I am given to understand that they have planned some what? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see lurking in the wings. Come on up here. Don't be bashful. Don't be bashful. Are you going to say nice things?
Only say nice things.
Jeff Ford is a man I met up in Connecticut, which is where he lives, and he's working at Thomson Reuters in a position. But it turned out, the first time I was up there doing a presentation about Wonderama at the library in Westport, we had lived in Weston for many years, turned out that he was a fan of the show. So we began talking, we have become friends since then. So anytime I go up to Connecticut, usually I spend some time with Jeff. So Jeff, I remember, has a couple of stories. Let's see what you got.
Thanks, Sonny. I'm going to actually talk about Cely first.
Oh, I didn't know you were having a thing, though.
No, it's actually about your thing for Cely, Sonny. I'm a sentimental guy, and I've gotten to know Sonny. I've known him since I was 6. But as an adult, I've seen a side of Sonny that I rarely see in a fellow man, and that's his love for a woman and the ability to express that love. Sonny made reference to the time we spend together. I'm 3 things to Sonny. I'm a fan from the Wonderama days. I'm about the age of Meredith. 2, I'm a guy who likes to reminisce about Wonderama. But 3, I'm his chauffeur whenever he comes to Connecticut. I take him where he wants to go. And what we talk about usually is you, Cely. And I don't know if you knew that. So I just wanted on your birthday, or in celebration of your birthday, to let you know that you and his kids and his grandchildren are what he talks about. We don't really talk much about the show, and we talk about his family. So Sonny, Cely, happy birthday. Sonny would not have let me up here if I didn't promise to tell one story about him, so I will tell one story about him. There have been several references to the fact that Sonny connects with kids. I was one of those kids who couldn't get tickets. I didn't know his mom, and I wasn't friends of the Soviet premier, so I couldn't get on the show. But I happened to be in the hospital having my tonsils out, and I was coming out from the anesthesia. And I say to my mom and dad, look over there, it's Sonny Fox. They think I'm delusional, they think I'm on drugs. But in reality, it was Sonny. He was hanging over Chris, who became friends later in life. But Sonny's son, Chris, God bless him, was in the hospital as well. And my father says, "Oh my God, Jeff, you're right. It really is Sonny Fox. You're not delusional this time." So, I am kind of in and out. The next thing I know, my father has taken a cardboard box, made it into a television set. It only played Channel 5, by the way. And Sonny puts it over his head. He comes up to the bed next to me and says, "Good morning, Jeff. It's time for Wonderama." Sonny, I love you. Happy birthday.
I'm still waiting for payment for that stint, but okay, so now I will introduce the trio. Wait a minute, I gotta do this first. Because they have to leave. Three people who have been in my life for a long, long time, three performers. And they're sort of related, actually. First one, I guess, I knew was Katie Sullivan, who I cast in a show in LA, and then that show didn't go on. But I loved what she was doing. I loved her talent. She was in New York at a uptown hotel doing a gig. She said, "Come over and watch." I said, "It's fine." So I was in New York and came over. Well, she was delayed doing some stuff out elsewhere. So the guy who was going to come on after her came on first. And that's where I ran into Mark Nadler. So that's number two. And then I got a phone call one day, a message one day, saying, "Hi, this is Christine Petty. I'm in town in LA doing Forbidden Broadway, and I'd love you to come to the performance, and I know you're an agent, blah, 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 blah." So clearly she hadn't dialed the wrong number. But she had left, no, because she really did. She was looking to talk to this agent, but she left her phone number. So I called her back and said, "I just want to let you know you didn't reach who you thought you were going to reach, but I just want to let you know I love Forbidden Broadway." We started talking. I was about to come down the show, and Christine Petty came into my life. Christine Petty now is one of the two voices, the host on Broadway Channel on Sirius XM satellite radio, and I hear her all the time in LA. So these three people, Christine Petty and Mark Nadler and Katie, thank you, Katie Sullivan, are going to do something. Do I know what they're going to do? No. All I can tell you is it's going to be wonderful.
Oh, it works. How exciting. Hi, everybody. I'm Christine Petty. This is for you. There's no money in it. And this was remarkable. Cely, I mean, I'm not surprised, but my God, the multilingual, world-traveling, international activists, and then there's Sonny. This is the sunny side. This is the rubber chicken portion of the evening. So that's what I'm here for. So I had actually called up a voiceover agent and said, I'd like to take your class, and I'm doing a show where I do a lot of voices, and if you'd like to come see it. And then Sonny called back and said, "This is Sonny Fox," and etc. You've reached the wrong person. But I happen to love that show, and I was going to go next week. So I said, "Well, let me give you comps." Now, the name Sonny Fox, surely there's got to be more than one Sonny Fox, other than the one that I grew up looking up at the television. I was so young, and it was black and white. And my mentality was that I thought he looked like Daddy because you had dark hair, and my father had dark hair. I was really little, and very young. And why is nobody laughing at that? Anyway, we went out for drinks after, and I never once said, "Are you the Sonny Fox from Wonderama?" Because honestly, it didn't matter. I loved him anyway. It didn't matter what Sonny Fox you were. You were fabulous. And the thing that I think is at the heart of everything that Sonny does is humor. And as I listened to everyone's testimonies today, and you've reinvented yourself and done so many things, I think the two of you should become life coaches. I do. I don't have to pay because you pretty much are my life coach anyway. But I think people would pay good money for either of you, and you could sort of toss somebody back and forth, you know what I mean? And they could like get the best of Cely and the best of Sonny.
Sonny heard me perform. Oh, I didn't know that's collapsible. Sonny heard me perform, and I just wanted to move it. I guess it's here to stay, sort of like our love. Okay. So,
Move the
Our
piano?
love is
Oh my
interesting.
God.
well, I'm like in a corner, and I have to play for myself, and I want these people to see me.
Okay.
So. No, no, no! I'll do it. You're 90 fucking years old. I'm good. Oh my God! So I was performing, and KT was going to be the early show, and I was going to be the late show, and. I know there are children in the room, and I shouldn't have said that word that I just said. I apologize that I said 90. But so I was the late show, and KT was the early show, and KT was doing the cabaret convention for the first time, which she now runs. So it went very well. And the man who books the Algonquin was coming to hear her that night, and I had to go on in her stead. And Sonny was sitting there to hear KT as well. And he heard me. And and he liked what he heard. And he said, let's have a meeting the very next day. And he went to his place in the village, and he said, you should have your own children's show. Now, I am an extremely out gay alcoholic. I am out as a gay man. I am out as an alcoholic. So I thought this is an interesting concept to have me have a children's show. If only I had listened to him, I could be Pee Wee Herman. But I didn't do it. So instead, I've had a checkered career as a cabaret performer, and I've been racking my brain to find a song that really says who you are, both of you, who you are. Because you know, it's not every day you get to sing at somebody's auspicious birthday. And I thought, find a song that really embodies who Sonny is. If I Were a Rich Man came to mind. And then I thought, no, that's not such a good idea. Then I thought, I've got a lot of living to do. And I thought, not at 90. It's a no. That won't be right. And then I thought I should sing something that also embodies who Cely is. And I came up with this one. It's not by any of the songwriters you produced. It's by Comden and Green and Julie Stein. But they knew a lot of the songwriters that you produced and used many of the same notes. I think this song is who these two people are. They know a place where dreams are born and time is never planned. It's not on any chart. You must find it with your heart. Never, never land. It might be miles beyond the moon, right there where you stand. Just keep an open mind, and then suddenly you'll find it's never, never land. You'll have a treasure if you stay there, more precious far than gold. For once you have found your way there, you can never, never grow old. And that's their home, where dreams are born and time is never planned. Just think of lovely things, and your heart will fly on wings forever in never, never land. just think of lovely things, and your heart will fly on wings forever. Isn't that who they are? And to prove it, now to speak to you, Sonny Fox. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute, Sonny, sit down. We have one more we're going to do. Barbara! Oh my God, Barbara, I didn't know that was you. That's a great songwriter there, Barbara Schottenfeld. Introducing to Sonny Fox. But wait a minute, we have one, we're going to do one more. We have one more that I forgot because I was so moved by my own performance. I forgot that we in fact have another song to do. So please welcome back, Katie Sullivan, Christine Petty.
Let me just ask, we can move on if there's going to be cake. Will there be cake? Will there be cake? Cake. It's a pastry with frosting. If there's cake, we can do this before the cake.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, because we wouldn't insult you with a rehearsed program, so.
We just wanted to celebrate the birthdays in a big fat way. All right? Cely. Did your mother realize the stork delivered quite a prize the day they left you on the family tree? Does everyone appreciate that you are merely super great, a miracle of any century? Well, if they don't, send them all to me. 'Cause you must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child.
When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, you drove the little girls wild.
And Cely, when it came to winning Blue Ribbon, I'll bet you showed the other girls how.
I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. I bet you made the cutest bow.
Must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby loved you now. Let's sing it together. You must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child.
When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, I bet you drove the
be on sale. What's going on?
This is only, Sonny, this man right here was the musical director of the film Chicago, among other things. This is Paul Bouquet. And
the TV wonderful version of a great score by Charles Strauss, Annie.
Paul was the music director of the TV version of Annie as well. It's all family here, which means you're in the will. And with the great Paul Bouquet is his wife, who is one of my favorite songwriters. She really is, and sexy and talented. You won't believe Barbara Schottenfeld.
Go, Babs, go.
Yes, she wrote with Julie Stein as well.
Oh boy, and that actually brings in Sonny, that story. By the way, nobody liked my Aunt Helene even before she cheated on my Uncle Murray. And after she cheated on my Uncle Murray, nobody in our family spoke to her, except then she called with tickets from Wonderama. 2 for her daughters, and 1 for my brother and 1 for myself. And after that, nobody ever said a bad word about Aunt Helene again. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I gotta put myself together here. 1 second.
You look like you're already there.
Oh, you're so cute. You're so sweet. I did want to say a couple just quick things about Sonny. Because the little song that I devised does not allow for those. A little sentimentally, I just want to say that Sonny was always so supportive of me. I was writing with Julie Stein at one point, and it was a very tempestuous sort of collaborative relationship. And I don't know if you remember this, but I would call Sonny all the time and say, I don't know if I can take this anymore. I don't know if I can take it anymore. And as wonderful and brilliant as he is, and Sonny would say, you got to stay with this. You got to stay with this. You got to just find a way to work that out. And then when I was performing a show in LA at the Cinegrill, he showed up almost every night. And the same thing when Mark was performing there. He brought people every night. It's just, there's nobody like you. Okay, this is with some apologies to the Gershwin brothers. It ain't Nessa Sonny Fox, so it ain't Nessa Sonny Fox, so says he's 10 and fourscore. Who knows, maybe he's more, 'cause it ain't Nessa Sonny Fox, so handsome and oh what a wit. He's friendly and funny and fit. Loves kids and loves media. He's in Wikipedia. He's memorized every last bit. He got him that big TV show. Those kids, how they worshipped him so. But now all those kiddies are Altas and Biddies with Viagra and Botox in tow. Methuselah's 900 they've sung. Compared to him, Sonny is young. He's strong and he's spry, some say humble and shy, but that ain't necessary Fox. I'm preaching this Irwin to show. It ain't necessary Fox, ain't necessary Fox. Sunny time, sunny time, and the living is teasy. He loves to kibitz with charisma and flair. It's such a funny time. He tells his story so easy. But step on his punchline, you'll get coddish right there. room table, I could see my destiny. I loved you, Sonny. I loved you, Irwin. Oh, how you rock me. Let's fool around. You found the key, dear, so come unlock me. It's just for fun now. It's just for fun now. My siren sounds. From our first kiss in NYC, this was a ship meant to be. From that first time at PCI, I knew I'd love that Flatbush guy. Oh, my Sonny, my man Sonny, from this minute I'm quelling from you. I make a vow. Oh, my Sonny, I hear you say, happy
I was mistaken. There would be 2 original cast albums on the way. Oh, my word. You know, one of the joys of my life has been watching these people and all young, but I knew them when they were young and just starting out. Mark. And
I'm still young and just starting out. I've been young and starting out now for 20 years.
No, are you going to do something else?
No, are you kidding? I'm not following the entire score to Porgy and Bess. It's up to you.
I do want to say, since Sheldon is here, Sheldon Harnick, I walked past Sheldon, I walked past that theater yesterday. There it is. It doesn't say anything else except Fiddler on the Roof. And the theater was coming back. And that's such an exciting thing to see up there again.
Yeah.
We're also bringing back another version of Rothschilds, right?
Yes.
Yes. This would be a good deal for you. He's also, forget the past, he's written a new one-act opera, which is going to be done somewhere in America. I don't know where, somewhere. You told me, but anyway. So the man is still generating wonderful stuff at his age. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Charles, I knew Charles so far away long ago that his name was Buddy. That matters, right? It used to be Buddy, and knew his first collaborator, who is now back in Ohio. Is he still okay? Yeah. Good. Please say hello to him if you like. The fact is, they didn't have to write another hit show after they did All in the Family, because you know. That, ladies and gentlemen, played on 280 stations every week for all those years. He didn't have to write anything after that. He was rich from that. But he, fortunately for us, has written so many others. And I'm so pleased that they're both friends of mine and that they're both here. And they're both in the shows I did back in the 80s. I was able to do 8 television shows, each hosted by one of these gentlemen and 6 others of their ilk. And are probably, in my define the golden age of Hollywood, of Broadway musicals, and still do, and always will. You've written opera is to Italians. You've written most of those shows. They were never. So now we come to the coda, I think. This is a, I've heard things today which you don't generally hear, except when there's a coffin in front of you. So I'm very pleased to hear these things, and the party we had in LA too. And when I look around the room, it's just, as I mentioned earlier, you are part of my life. All of you have been part of my life, one way or another, in and out, sometimes constantly, sometimes with me. My children, my grandchildren, my nieces, my nephews, all the people I've worked with, Cely, and Cely's wonderful family that came into my life 22 years ago and just enriched all of us by having them in our lives. And so I just think that I look at you and I think, you make up a tapestry. That's what you are. You're a whole tapestry of my life. You are the colors of my life. Are bountiful and bold. The purple glow of indigo, the green gleam of green and gold, the splendor of a sunset, sunrise, the dazzle of a flame, the glory of a rainbow. I put them all to shame. No quiet browns and gray. I took my days instead and filled them till they overflow with rose and cherry red. And should this sunlit world grow cold one day, the colors of my life will leave a shining light the way. And that's what you all are. You are the colors of my life. Some of you have been there for a long time, like my children, my grandchildren, people in my past, and you've been the primary colors, but then others have come along. And maybe just threads have come in and out of my life from time to time. But they're there. Some came and embroidered lovely patterns in my life. And then Cely came with the family, and a whole burst of new colors came into this fabric of my life. And so there we all are, here today, and that's the way I see you all today. So no quiet browns and gray. I took my days instead and filled them till they overflow with rose and cherry red. And should this sunlit world grow dark one day, of my life will leave a shining light